So we've got toxic rain in Doomcaster, and the population is up above 150 now. The radiation's starting to get worse still. Radiation just continues to rise. Even though we've already taken care of the nuclear power plant, the toxic rains and stuff will still do this to us. And unlike Endzone 1, in this game it feels like every time it rains, it's just toxic all the time. Maybe it's the difficulty, but there's 6 minutes of toxic rain here. At the bottom left of the screen for Doomcaster, we can see that our current protective clothing measures will cover us for this far, but the radiation in this area is here, which means people are getting actively sick. People are going to start dying anyway, or at least start getting contaminated. Up here at the top, we can see that there's a 2% hit on this. So I've been reading this wrong the entire time, and that's my bad. So this here is like the people's current contamination. And as it rises up, like on average, everybody just starts to die, right? And this is our contamination on the specific map tile that we're on. So we can see that Fester Chapel is already way up here. Now I've got protective clothing to get us to here, but as per usual, it's just a little higher, right? It's just a little bit up there. I've already emptied out Withergate because they just couldn't survive. I can't get clothing here. I can't get enough people to survive long enough to get clothing here because the consumption rates are far too high. And now Iron Sanctuary is starting to get hit because of these toxic rains. And so I'll need to get masks and all that stuff set up over here too. So I've started to get the plantation going on this side. We're going to have to start getting, well, lots of different types of stuff going on this side actually. So I'm going to go ahead and place a vulcanizer right here because we're going to need more on this side anyway. And then I'm going to pop a settlement. Settlement? No, not a settlement. I'm going to pop a plantation right here. And we'll have this be what gets us the rubber and stuff. Now, this is our wood cutting. And so we're eating into that spot now. So we're going to have to move the wood cutting lodge. And I'm just going to move it to start cutting wood over here now, I guess. That's fine. These are just scrap buildings, so they'll get covered at later on anyway. And then our tree nursery is going to have to start planting over here too. All right, so what we're really looking to do here, every single settlement needs to be creating its own masks and gloves, essentially. But there are going to be some places that can't do that, like Withergate. Because it's got 2 swamps and doesn't have fertile land, it's not able to create its own like sustainable source for protective clothing. It doesn't have iodine here. It doesn't have hardly anything here. So this is really just a medical place. But unfortunately, our medical place that can make lots of these ampules, which are still over 400 in stock here, unfortunately, they can't stay alive long enough to keep doing that because we have to keep providing protective clothing to this area from other areas. I've got everyone in Fester Chapel right now, pretty much. I moved everyone back over here so that we could maybe start getting ahead on that. And again, consumption rates are just insanely high. So, you know, we're still low on carbon masks. We're kind of catching up with rubber gloves, but it's whatever. That's the only reason why this is so high is because we have the rubber gloves and stuff too. So we want to, you know, kind of get into many different products all at the same time and spread ourselves out. And that's pretty difficult to do. We're actually short on water now, so I need more people to be on water carrying now as well to make up the difference there. And we are slowly starting to get our kids growing up enough to where they can work that. But overall, guys, I feel like this game is it's very different, right, from Endzone 1. Like, I think a lot of the people on my channel maybe are at least familiar with Endzone 1. You've probably seen it. I've played through it 3 times. I was a really big fan of Endzone 1. This one it's just different. I'm not entirely convinced that the deviations they've made from the first game are good deviations. There are some deviations that are great. I love the expeditions. I love how you can walk around the sites and everything, interact with things. However, there are now no decisions to make. Before, we had to make decisions like you could do this or you could do this. And sometimes those decisions had bad outcomes if you just didn't choose carefully. I liked that. These new expeditions don't really have that. They're more interactive, but they're less consequential. So changes, right? There's a lot more moving around the map with the cars and stuff. I do like that, but it also, most of the time you're driving around, you're kind of just picking up loot, which you could have done in the other game anyway too. So like, I'm not entirely sure that these changes that they've made are necessarily better, but they have made a different game. And that different game is something that I was not quite familiar enough with to be successful playing in this, harder difficulty. I thought I could do it. I'm thinking that I've made enough mistakes now where I can't. And you can see Fester Chapel right here. Somehow, it's not somehow. It's because the gloves are gone. So because we're out of gloves, now my protection is way down here. When your protection is down here and the radiation up here is right here, or soil radioactivity is here, people are going to get sick faster, right? So we got to keep up with the gloves. And I've got all 6 people in here, but I'm running short on rubber. So I need more people on the vulcanizer. I'm maxing out this big factory, and this maxed out factory is not producing enough rubber to provide for this. I don't think that's right. I think this is a supply issue. Oh, it's coal. It's a coal supply issue. Okay. Well, we could maybe do something about that. Coal is... Let's max out those, but in order to really satisfy the requirements for that, I need more people on wood. And then, of course, I'm still dropping in water. So the game kind of... It's a weird balance, which I think hard... When you put it a difficulty that's above normal, you can't expect it to be precisely balanced, right? That's kind of the nature of it. You've intentionally made it imbalanced against the player. It's just different, and I haven't gotten used to it just yet. I would be interested in retrying the mode like from scratch. I would be interested in that, but if we were to do it, I would probably be doing it live. I am having a lot more fun doing live broadcasts than I am VODs at the moment. I go through stages. I think every content creator goes through stages where they're just sort of like, what am I into right now? And their interests fluctuate and move around. And I played a lot of city builders, man. I played a lot of survival games like this. I played a lot of economics focused games, survival focused games, resource management, factory kinds of things, right? Like I've played a lot of these things. I don't know, but I would like to try it again. I really would, but if I did, I would probably do it live. I think this is going to be the last episode for this playthrough, though. It's not that we've lost. I feel like maybe we can recover it. I still feel like we can, but it would take a very long time, and I feel like I'm running on a treadmill while I do it. But because I would essentially have to be moving people constantly from one place to another just to prevent their radiation buildup over here from hitting, right? Like I don't have anyone making meds right now. I have nobody making brick right now, and I'm out of bricks entirely. The entire map, I have no brick, and I have nobody making it because the only place I can make it at the moment is Fester Chapel, and they need more people just to survive, right? I need more people here available to work in order just to survive. There's not enough. There's not enough on water right now, right? I need more people doing coal. I need more people making tools. There's a lot of that going on. So I've just, kind of been juggling people around a little bit, trying to figure out what the balance would be. I think I can get it. I don't think it's unachievable, but I think my biggest struggle with it at the moment, and I think some of you are feeling this too, because I've seen some of your comments, and it kind of like, the comments are relatively negative when the ones I'm talking about here, this specifically, they're fairly negative, but they're not wrong. Like I'm feeling like the game just kind of tired me out already. I feel like maybe I think it's just this playthrough. I think if I could get further into the game, I think I would feel differently. But the game is kind of just, for me anyway, and I think for a lot of you, run its course already, right? We get to that point. It's very common actually for us to get to that point in a game. We play a lot of early access games, and a lot of early access games are not necessarily imbalanced, not necessarily not fleshed out, but they just don't quite have what it takes to hold us for a long period of time, if that makes sense. Sometimes that's just the way it is. And I think this one's hitting me like that, I think. But I'm going to continue to play it a little bit here just to see whether or not I can recover it before I have to start cycling people again, which, we already have contamination buildup happening in Iron Sanctuary. Nowhere near ready to you know, have a sustainable population that can withstand the water and food requirements, plus also making its own masks and rubber gloves. It needs to make the rubber gloves now too, because the radiation has grown so fast that if I just have masks, this will still not be sufficient. So I still need to go faster. If I had to change how the game is balanced just to make it a little bit more approachable, and this is somebody who's like a veteran of survival games like this, but also like a veteran of Endzone, specifically Endzone, I would reduce at least a little bit the consumption of masks and rubber gloves. I think these things are being consumed far too quickly. And I think, what would I change about my tactics? Well, I put a whole lot more emphasis on rushing to rubber gloves. Because if I can rush to rubber gloves in a single settlement, and I'd have to kind of get a little bit lucky with the map, but if I can rush to rubber gloves in a single settlement, then I can keep this bar to 0. That would let me build a healthy population and then expand once I have a good surplus of rubber gloves and masks. Those two things, I would definitely do that faster. The other thing I would do faster, and it's not entirely in my control because you have to get over to, I assume every time you play the game that, well, I can't assume that, can I? Because we started with this bridge, right? This was the first bridge I did. This bridge over here required iron tools, which I couldn't get to on this. There are no iron mines on this side of the map. The iron mines are located in here, so I had to get to this area to get iron. But was there iron tools, or were there iron tools in the wreckage out here? Maybe. I don't know. But if I could get into the other region and find that nuclear power plant, maybe I can slow this progression down a little bit, because this doesn't seem to go back down. Which brings me to my third thing I wish the game had, and that's a way to recover this, a way to bring this back down. It doesn't seem to like there's any way to do that. Now, I could take a look at the research tree, and if I come down, I can see upgraded town centers, houses, statues, wishing trees, recycling centers. I see a lot of these things, but what I don't see is anything that indicates whatsoever that there's a way to recover the land. There just doesn't seem to be a way to do that. So once you're here, you're there permanently. And I don't know how realistic that really is. I mean, imagine you get rid of the main source of pollution generation, the main source of radiation generation on the map, right? You finally figured it out and you get rid of that. But every camp continues to rise. Every camp continues to get worse over time. I mean, I get the toxic rains are a thing, but wouldn't the world recover over time? I mean, it would take a very long time, right? Of course, it would take a very long time, but I don't know why it would continue to get worse when the overall cause of that radiation leak and the overall cause of the problems has been taken care of, right? It would sort of be like patching the hole in a boat, and the boat continues to take on water. My other issue with the balance of the game has to do with how happiness affects your settlements, or should I say how it really doesn't have any effect at all on your settlements. In Endzone 1, if you made all your people very happy, their production ability went up. So if you had a really happy population, you were producing significantly more resources than you would be otherwise if they were not happy. That doesn't appear to be in this game at all, at least not in any of the text. If I hover over top of this, it just says it's an effort. It has an effect on the inhabitants of the settlements. Confidence has an effect, it says. Okay. It's influenced by the settlers' housing situation and external factors. Okay. If the level of confidence is poor, they complain more often, might possibly make demands, or leave the settlement. I'm not sure that's really in the game other than leaving the settlement, because I've seen people leave the settlement before. But that's only on the negative side. What's my motivation for keeping them happy? You know, if I can keep them around 40%, 30%, it doesn't seem to have a big deal or be a big deal. But what about if I can keep them to 80% or 90%? Do I get any benefits for that? So far, the game doesn't seem to show that. And that's really unfortunate, because if I had motivation to keep them happy, like for instance, if I had motivation through community buildings, I can make the pavilion and the parks and the statues and the market and all these other things that I'm supposed to be able to get to. If I can make them more happy that way, they should be working more. And perhaps that would help me with my resource problem, right? So if I go over to research for a second, if I come up to, let's say, market, this is not research. If I go ahead and hit this, And we're going to research market really quick and see if they have any effect whatsoever on their production of resources. If I was to, for example, put a market down in the middle of Fester Chapel right over here, would they be better off? Now, if I maybe remade these crops, I might be able to fit another one of these things in here because there's no place to put this, and I would really like to get another plantation in there. I guess we could go over to this one. Yeah, we could just do it over here instead. So put it over, right, like say right here. Should be good to go. And then on the edge of this, we'll connect it with the road right there. And then when that's built, we'll get some more rubber going because I'm going to need that. Yeah, we need, like, a lot of people in these plantations and stuff. We need more of that stuff. And I think it's coal is really my limiting factor here. Wood is a limiting factor on this camp, and we do have some more wood over here, but there's not a lot. There's just like little differences in the UI and stuff too, right? Like, for example, for the professions menu, it used to be pretty persistent. You could put it over here, and I liked it better over here than I did like smack dab in the middle covering everything. But the other difference is you used to be able to type how many you wanted. So if I want specifically like 60 water carriers, I used to be able to type that out, but now I can't do that. Now I can hold shift to move it up in increments of 5 or whatever, but it's not as intuitive as just having a specific number if I really wanted to do that. Then I can't do that anymore. They've just taken that ability away, which is a little bit weird. So we can get to attached professions. So if I want to monitor something specific, let's say tailors and weavers and all these types of things, I could put them at the top of the screen, and that's cool. But man, wouldn't I like it to just pin it over here? There's a lot of room over here that's just kind of wasted. I'm thinking banished, right? It's just better to have them always accessible if I want to see them at a glance, and I can't do that. I have to open up a menu right here. So the drought's coming, right? So I need a lot of water. I got a lot of water here. That's probably pretty good. And then I'm just now starting to get a positive on food. This is 153 people. I just want to pause this for a second. All right. There's 153 people that can work in this place. I'm trying to prepare for this drought. So let's take a look and see what would be possible under this circumstance, right? Because the more people you get, they each consume like 3 food a minute for each citizen. It's insane how much they're consuming right now. And again, I get it. This is the difficulty, right? This is not the normal balance of the game. So I understand that it's supposed to be balanced, against me. I'm gonna have to take off everybody off of pretty much every job in order to get enough food to last this drought, because it's just the way it is with this population. They consume so much water, so much food, that withstanding this is just, it's just not going to happen. So obviously this is something where I really want to evaluate it and try again. And maybe I'm just a little bit salty. I hope it doesn't come across too strong in the video. I'm not really salty at Endzone 2. There's just been a kind of a recent trend on this channel that didn't exist for the previous 6 years. And that's games. I don't know what's happening with them exactly, but maybe it's because we're playing them really early. Maybe it's because I'm just getting worse at them. Maybe my brain is failing now. I have no idea, but it does seem like I'm failing more often than I used to. Right now, they hit me with a drought and a sickness. No, this is just a drought. Okay, not a sickness. I thought they hit me with a drought and a sickness, and I was like, well, that's GG, right? That's what it's gonna do. But it seems like what we failed at IFZ was some failures. That was totally unrelated to my ability, though. It was all the game. We had some failures with Crust. I think there was a kind of a shared responsibility in those failures, in that failing. I don't think it was entirely my fault, but it was there. And then with Endzone, I feel like I'm going to take most of the blame here, just because I decided to, take the very first playthrough as the difficulty. But at the same time, I thought I had a fundamental understanding of how Endzone as a game worked, and they changed so many things in this one that it just didn't resonate with me quite as well as I thought it would. And it's my fault, but I don't think there's a way to recover it. I've gone through as much as I can with this. I think I've played this enough to where, this is one of those things where if you have a lot of water in one camp, you might be able to send water and food to this area. You can see clearly this drought is only happening right here, right? It's not happening on these other 2 areas. So that would be the other thing I would want to do. At one point, I felt like if I can get really good protective clothing in one place, really just ramp up and get lots of masks and gloves, maybe people would live long enough, and then we could export them to other places. But I mean, I don't know exactly how to slow down this radiation climb. It's really harsh. It's the game wants to kill you. Okay, the drought's over. We had 26 people so far dead, but it's really not about the drought that's killing them, right? It's the buildup of radiation. Contamination just continues to happen. And it's now way beyond this. Now we need decontamination kits regularly to just have this place survive. So Fester Chapel is lost. There's just no way for me to get enough population. I know I just keep saying that over and over and over again, but I just want to reiterate that because of the consumption levels in this difficulty, you really do need like 60 water carriers to feed water into everything that you have. If you're pumping it at like 100%, all the things that I have to pump at 100%, I need like 60 or 70 water carriers in order to do that. That's half the population that exists right now. You just need to be on water alone, right? Consumption is just too high, and it's you can't build it up. So yeah, I can put everybody on tailors and weaving, but they won't have the coal. So I need to put more people on coal in order to give them the coal. Well, I need people on wood for that. Okay, you need people on wood for that. Cool. Okay, well, what about the fibers? Well, okay, well, let's put more people into fibers. Okay, great, cool, awesome. But all those things take water. Oh, right. We need more people on water. Well, now you've added so many people, you need more people on food. Right, we need more people on food. it just keeps going on and on and on. And because the consumption is too high. So, again, I'd be open to trying it again. But I don't know. I feel like I just want a different experience right now. You know, I want to come back to Endzone. I do. I really do want to give this game another shot. And to give it an idea, maybe we will just play on normal instead, just to kind of get through the tech tree, right? Because I would like to see other types of production chains, right? Get the glassworks going, seeing what that's all about, recycling center, all these types of things. But at the end of the day, most of these things, they're like, okay, cool, this is more advanced. You can get new things. Okay, what I'm not getting from this game, and I think some of you guys are feeling the same way, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not getting the satisfaction from success. I've got 22 knowledge points here, right? I've done all the knowledge stuff. I can unlock these things. That's no problem. But like I can get down the tree, right? And now I don't have any knowledge points, so I still need to go out and research more. But I can get down the tree. But it's getting the resources to unlock all of them, right? Those resources are difficult to obtain when the conditions are the way they are. And when we do add something new, when we add brick, when we add whatever, and we get more stuff and we can start expanding, I like that idea, but it's so punishing from the mistakes that I'm not getting satisfaction from the successes. Like when I founded this island, I was like, cool, we're moving to another island. Yeah. But it didn't feel like that. No, actually what it felt like is, okay, yep, it's another island. That's the problem. So I think they can handle this. I think the devs have some balancing work to do to make it more satisfying. I would love to see, for example, here's a good way to sum up how I feel about the satisfaction of this, right? Let's say I give them more protective clothing in Doomcaster. My reward for this is that my people's confidence go up by 10%, which is irrelevant when there's really no benefits to going up above more confidence that I have right now anyway, right? The reward comes from them surviving these ridiculous harsh elements and not dying. My reward is them not dying, not them being happy. I want to see confidence actually have a material value in the game. I want people to be able to produce more. Give me a 25% increase in all production if my population is above 75% happiness or something, right? If I'm above 90% happiness, give me a 35% increase in production. Something like that would definitely feel better, because if I'm taking care of my people, then my people are more likely to help me take care of them. Because as it is right now, there's no benefit for me building this market, right? I've got the brick now. I don't have the wood or the scrap because I had to pull people off of that for water and everything for survival. But if I had this and I added this, it's not that big of a deal that they get just a little bit happier. It's just not. It doesn't matter to me if they're happy. And it really hasn't mattered to me the entire game whether or not my people were happy. All that mattered to me was that they were alive. And now I'm just unable to do that. So I'm going to chalk this up as a loss. I'm going to chalk it up as my fault in the loss. And I've learned a whole bunch. I would love to come in and tackle this again. But I'm looking for a little bit of different experience right now. And I think maybe what I really need, honestly, is like a good old-fashioned nostalgia. I think I need some nostalgia, guys. You know what I think we're going to do instead? All right? Instead of continuing this, because I want to give you things that you guys like, right? And maybe obviously some of you have been here since a long time and you'll get this, but many of you are maybe new. Well, let's just crank out another prison in Prison Architect. That goes back to my roots. Played that game 9 times. I always feel good and nostalgic when I go back to that. And then if we do take another stab at this, I'd like to try it live because I think I can have more fun. I can have more fun in it. Maybe not for some of you, but I can have more fun in it if I'm with a live audience and able to interact with you guys while we play. I think that would be a good way to try it out too. Okay? So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I really do. Your patience has been very valued. This is a loss. Pretty much everybody's going to die eventually here. Take care. We'll see you. Bye-bye.